We're here with Milan Chovan, who's Republican Councilman at large, City of Massillon, who has been working very hard to solve the law enforcement and security problems in the City of Massillon in terms of shortage of manpower. Could you just summarize for the viewers of the Stark County Political Report a little background of what you've been doing?
Sure, I'd be glad to. The current staffing level of the Massillon Police Department is 36 people. We had over 50 people on the force 10 years ago. Out of the 36 people that we have, 9 people are not actively involved in answering calls. They're administrative people, they're jailers, they're people that don't actually go out and hit the road. Because of the way that the collective bargaining agreement with the city police is set up, there is a minimum number of manpower that has to be on each shift. And because our numbers are so low in personnel, if one person or 2 people call off of a shift, we have to replace them with somebody working overtime at a time-and-a-half rate. Last year, the city spent over $750,000 in overtime just due to that short shift situation. So I've been working with the Safety Service Director and with Chief Moser from the Police Department to come up with a number of people that we could hire that would allow us to reduce that overtime and allow the department to operate more efficiently without wearing out the police officers, because of all the hours they put on. We've come up with a number of 44 individuals, which means we would need to hire 8 people. We could do that out of the money that we're spending on overtime now, and we could totally pay for those 8 people. So that's what's taken us a while.
How much of that money would hiring additional police officers take up, do you think?
About, we roughly figure a fully loaded police officer at around $70,000, so $560,000. So you'd be actually saving the city money? Oh yeah, because if we did that, that would eliminate the short shift overtime.
Right.
So if we were at $750,000 and we're going to spend $560, that gives us quite a savings.
Now, during session tonight, the work session, you talked about yes, the police department personnel have not gotten pay raises for a number of years.
Police or fire.
Or fire, and so what they did get though was the short shifting provision. Is that true or not?
No, well, not necessarily. When contracts were negotiated, I'm pretty sure at least over the last 3 periods, and I believe these were all 3-year contracts, because the city couldn't afford to pay them a higher hourly rate, they would allow them maybe additional sick days, or they would allow ways for them to generate some overtime just through the normal operation of the department.
Okay, so the contract language adjustment does feed into the overtime factor.
Oh, absolutely. That's what does it.
That's where I wanted to go with
that. Yeah. But these are things that are agreed upon between the unions and the administration. So I don't know why it was done that way, but if you look at the performance audit that we did for the city, that was done for us, if you look at our police department, the hourly rate for our police officers is 15 to 16% below comparable cities that were used in the audit. However, if you look at the portion of their salary, of their overall compensation that comes from overtime, it's 30%, 35%, and according to the state auditor's office, when overtime becomes more than about 6 or 7% of a person's total compensation, you've got some real issues to deal with in the city. When I heard that here a year ago, that's when I decided to start looking at how many people we could actually hire and to reduce that overtime. If we have more people on shift, even if we have the minimum manpower in the contract, and that's not something that that I have any control over. That's negotiated between the city and the police union. But even if it's in there, if 1 or 2 people call off, we still have enough surplus individuals to man and staff that minimum. So we're not into time and a half.
Okay, so the savings will still be there, even if the contract language remains the same?
Yeah. Yeah, it will be. If the contract language would change, and so let's say they would reduce the number of personnel for their minimum manning, what that would do, and we had the minimum of 44 people, what that would do is it would allow the police department, the chief and the supervisory staff to reassign some people to give us a bigger detective bureau, to do some drug interdiction, some other things that we just currently can't do. That would be the best scenario, is if they can come to an agreement maybe to adjust the minimum manpower, and we still had the minimum of 44 people, then we'd have the freedom to reassign people and actually be able to do some investigative work, which would hopefully lead to more arrests and help us to deter crime in the city also.
Okay, it seems to me that you have the ear of your fellow council persons.
I think so.
And how about, I know you talked to Service Safety Director Hannon.
Right.
He's on board?
He is.
How about the mayor?
Don't know that. Haven't spoken to her. I just put this piece of legislation, this request, in front of council today. Our clerk sent it to the mayor's office, and we haven't heard back yet. But that's not unusual. I mean, it takes a few days.
So are you confident that mayor will put her stamp of approval on it?
I don't know that.
Okay. And where I want to go from here, the timetable. And let's say that everybody's on board, mayor signs off, Service Safety Director, council goes along with your plan. What's the timetable?
I'm asking in the legislation to give 18 months to arrive at that minimum number of 44. That would mean we'd have to hire 8 people. And the way the hiring process works, after somebody takes a civil service exam and passes the exam, they go through a pretty extensive background check. If they're not already certified as police officers by virtue of training, they have to go through a training program. At that point, they're brought on to the police department, but they go through, it could be a 3 or 4 month field training program. So you could have 8 or 9 months before somebody that's testing today actually becomes productive police officer. The problem we run into is we don't have enough field training officers currently to bring on 8 people all at once. We might only be able to bring on 2 or 3 at a time. So the safety service director had the idea that maybe we could do like 2 or 3 people every 4 months, and that would work with me. The police chief agreed that it would probably take 18 months. So I think with the 3 of us working together, I mean, once the legislation comes out, there shouldn't be any surprises. We've already, touched all the bases leading up to this point.
I've tried to be thorough in my questioning. Anything that you think I missed that you think the citizens of Massillon should know about your plan?
No, not really. Just that it's one of the first times since I've been on council that I think we've tried to take council, in this case the police chief, a department head, and take the administration before we presented the legislation. Usually one or the other will present legislation, and we sit and argue about why it will or won't work. So I tried to do this by bringing everybody together up front so that most of the objections or the questions will be answered by the time this gets in front of council.
Now let's assume that your plan gets implemented and there is a savings to the city of Massillon. What is that money? Would that be reserved for law enforcement and the fire department, or would it just be out there for the general fund factor? Yeah,
it would be in the general fund.
Okay.
I mean, it could be used anywhere in the city. The general fund is what pays for the police and fire. So it would be less money that we would assign to that, the salary items for the police department.
So everybody ought to be pleased with that prospect.
You would think so. We would hope so.
Okay, well, thank you, Milan Chovan, Republican Councilman at large, City of Massillon, Ohio.
Thank you.